Hello everyone. We have another video today. Beautiful Sunday here in Melbourne. I hope it's a good weather over there too, and I hope you've been having amazing reads. Today we're talking about The Fires of Heaven, Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. But before we delve into it, don't forget, subscribe, like the content, comment away, recommend it to your friends. I mean, the more people that are here, the more we can discuss books, right? Alright, so let's get started. This book, it's the fifth book of Wheel of Time, which is epic fantasy series. If you haven't heard about it, I don't know what you've been reading, but this is definitely a recommend for me. I mean, I'm a bit biased considering this is my favorite fantasy series, but if you're not sure, you can also just take a look at the Wheel of Time series that exists on Amazon Prime. Not the most perfect adaptation, but they've been improving and I think it's quite good. But in regards to this book in specific, this book was published in 1993, which was more than 30 years ago now that I think about it, and it's scary how time flies. It's, like I said, an epic fantasy, very classical. It has almost 1,000 pages. I mean, this edition has over 1,000 pages. There's also the glossary, but I mean, it's a chunker of a book. It's a doorstop pretty much. As I said, this is my favorite book series or fantasy series, and I've read it. This is actually a reread, and as I'm rereading, I'm reviewing them, and so just take that into account when you see my scores. There will always be a bit bias, but I'll try to be as impartial as I can. And if you still are unsure, you can just comment your scores so that I can see what you think. This book on Goodreads has more than 186,000 ratings, which is a lot, and the final score it has is, so far, 4.19. Now, will my score be similar to this? Will it be higher, lower? Let's find out, but first we'll go through the synopsis. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers, if you don't want to hear anything at all about the book, skip to the timestamp that is floating around. Otherwise, just stick around and listen. In The Fires of Heaven, the fifth novel in Robert Jordan's #1 New York Times best-selling epic fantasy series, The Wheel of Time, four of the most powerful Forsaken band together against the champion of light, Rand al'Thor. Prophesied to defeat the Dark One, Rand al'Thor, the Dragon Reborn, has upset the balance of power across the land. Shaido Aiel are on the march, ravaging everything in their path. The White Tower's Amerlin has been deposed, turning the Aes Sedai against one another. The forbidden city of Ruidan is overrun by Shadowspawn. Despite the chaos swirling around him, Rand continues to learn how to harness his abilities, determined to wield the One Power, and ignoring the counsel of Moiraine Damodred at great cost. Alright, we're back, and before we jump into the categories, I'm just gonna refresh you guys about the scores I gave to the first four books of this series. So as you can see, the first one, The Eye of the World, has a score of 4.2. Then The Great Hunt, which is the second one, has a score of 4.4. The Dragon Reborn, which is the third one, got a score of 4.2 again, so it decreased a tiny bit. And then The Shadow Rising, which is the fourth book, went up to 4.6, which is quite the jump. So it seems like suddenly when what I consider the moment where Wheel of Time becomes its own thing, my feelings for it also increased a lot and my rating increased. So will The Fires of Heaven have a higher or lower score? Let's find out. Starting with plot, we have some of the best plot twists in this book. I'm not going to reveal what they are, I'm not going to spoil that, but let me just say it's some of the best. I was left jaw open the first time that I read it, and this time I knew what was going to happen, and I was so excited to read that part and also see all the foreshadowing that Robert Jordan was able to put in it, because it's amazing how he's able to just plant these seeds, and if you haven't read this book before, then you won't even notice them. You'll just read them through and be like, okay. But if you've read it already and you're looking through and you see these, you're like, I need to tell this to someone. And that was the feeling I was having. I really wanted to talk to people about all these foreshadowings. Unfortunately, I couldn't, because I didn't want to spoil any of my friends that were reading this. This is also a book where the plot starts to thicken in terms of intrigues and politics, which I always enjoy. It's some probably parts of the plot that I most enjoy is when there are characters plotting against each other through machinations and not just action, action, action. So for me, the score was elevated thanks to this and the plot twists. And of course, there were some points that were a bit flawed or maybe a bit too convenient. Towards the end, there was some sort of Deus Ex Machina, which, for the ones that don't know, it's when the plot is going along, something happens and it seems like there's no salvation, and then suddenly some sort of like almost godly action occurs to save the heroes or to just revert everything that happened. And yeah, I'm not saying that this was exactly what happened in this book, but it gave me a feel of it, and it makes sense in the world, but still it felt a bit like a cop-out or a strategy to just not be so brutal as the author maybe wanted to be. So there's that, and because of that, I think that was the major criticism that I have regarding plot. So I'm gonna give plot a 4 out of 5. As for characters, this is always a strong point in Robert Jordan's books. The characters are fully fleshed, they're deep, everyone has their own characteristics, and you have a different relationship with every single one of them. In this book, one of the characters I like the least wasn't in it. I'm not gonna say which one, but I was glad for that because I don't really care much about that character and the characters that are associated with them. But I was super happy to see others, and one of them, which of course shows up in all books, is Rand, and I love seeing Rand's progression and how his arc involves so much of destruction, of rebuilding and everything, and yeah, seeing then and knowing what is going to happen and see how every single step he makes just guides him towards that point. It's really good to see. And I think that if the characters weren't as fully fleshed out and or deep as they are, it wouldn't have this impact. It would feel like they were just going through an adventure, like, funny enough, like actors in a movie or in a TV show. And yeah, I wouldn't really care as much, but I really care about some. And even if they are annoying, because there are characters that are annoying, I still have some care for them, and I want to see their trajectory, their journey. So I think this book is just helping the reader be connected even more with some of the characters, and of course hate others even more, but you can't really avoid that. So I'm gonna give this category a 5 out of 5. Moving on to world building, I'm gonna sing praises to world building every single book because I feel like this world is so original for the time it was written, and I feel like every book we read, we just get new information that is still not overwhelming. It makes the world more complex, but not complicated. So this time we get more about the magic system, we get more about cultures and about the peoples around it, and yeah, I think it's very masterful from Robert Jordan to be able to do this without making the reader feel overwhelmed. And I think in this book we have a lot of perspective in the Aiel, not only through Rand but other characters, and we also see other parts of the world and how their culture is mingled with the wider world, let's say. And I think that's quite good to see because it gives us different perspectives, and it's not just the Western culture, Western European culture that we always see in epic fantasy. So for this category, I'm going to give a 5 out of 5. For writing style, I know many people struggle with this category because Robert Jordan has a very descriptive prose, and I like that style. I think it makes me more immersed in the story if I can say all the details of everything, of the dresses, which is a very famous thing regarding Robert Jordan, or about the scenario where they are, like the chairs or the paintings, everything. I really like that type of writing. Of course, if this isn't for you, then this category will always be a bit less. But still, I think in regards to writing style, the pacing is also quite good in this book. There are action scenes, and then there are parts where it's more slow, but it always feels like it's building up to something bigger, which, yeah, it's a good pacing, let's say. And I know that a lot of people criticize the way the characters think, and I don't know if this is more character or more writing style, but I truly think that some people in our world think like that, and it's not that uncommon to women think that men are idiots or men that think that women are complicated. I've had plenty of people in my life that think like that. So I find it funny, and I identify some people in my life with these characters. So I like that. I know that it's also a very contentious point, but that's why I want opinions from you, just to see what you think about it. For me, writing style is a 5 out of 5 too. And enjoyment, this one being one of the best books I think of the series, I think it's very easy to say what my enjoyment will be, but still, like I said, the foreshadowing makes the reread experience more exciting, and even the plot twists also still have a huge impact when they happened. And because all of this, I was always excited to read more, and I always wanted to point out things in the book and all these details that happen in books much further ahead. So yeah, I felt really excited to read it, and therefore my enjoyment will be a 5 out of 5 too. And so we get to our final scores. I'll just refresh your memories. So we got 4 for plot, and then we got 5 for characters, 5 for world building, 5 for writing style, and 5 for enjoyment. So that gives us a score of 4.8 out of 5. Almost perfect. There was just that Deus Ex Machina thing that I didn't really enjoy that made it go down a bit. But I mean, on Goodreads, because there aren't half stars or quarter or fifth stars, then I would just rate this book a 5 out of 5. And I can't say there's anything wrong with that. I really think this is one of the strongest books in the series. So it's really deserving. I think everything is just conjugated so well to make this a brilliant adventure. And if we compare this score with the previous ones, as you can see, the series is just increasing as we read more. I know there will be the slog, which will go down quite a bit, but hopefully it will just compensate even more when we reach the final books. For now, this is what we get, and I want to know what you think about this book. Comment down below. If you're gonna write spoilers, just write spoilers first before your actual spoilers, so that other people that haven't read don't get spoiled. And yeah, let me know what are your scores for these categories. I'm curious, and let's open the discussion, okay? See you soon, and for the new people around, don't forget to subscribe, like the content, and continue sharing, okay? See you soon. Adeus.